Sah D'Simone, you are so welcome to Livsenergipodden.
Thank you
How are
so
you?
much.
Yeah,
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
wonderful. You are in the early morning in LA, is that right?
Los Angeles, yeah.
And I am in late afternoon, early evening in Stockholm, Sweden. How fantastic to be able to meet this way.
It really is to connect across the world to talk about spiritually sassy.
Yes. So, Spiritually Sassy is your book that we have now turned into Swedish. And the name of we actually had a really interesting discussion about the title of the Swedish book because sassy is a lovely word in English, but we don't have a good equivalent to in Swedish at all. So in Swedish, you have seen the cover, I know that. So in
hmm
Swedish, it's called, I will translate, uh, r- true, wild, and spiritual, kind of
That's a good way of putting
like
it.
that.
Truly wild or true wild. Yeah, because it's
Yeah, true,
it's
wild.
spiritually wild. It's really
Mhm.
what we're trying to convey. I think sassy is there's an attitude to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the attitude is really, really important in this book, I would say, because as I told you just before we started recording, that it's a book with an attitude and it shakes people up. And that's why I chose to actually turn this into Swedish because I think it really is needed in our world right now. Needs to shake things up a bit
hmm
and, you know, shake us up.
Yeah. And that's what the book is really about, you know? I feel like in my personal journey, I had bought into the idea that being spiritual had to look a certain way, had to sound a certain way, had to act a certain way. And don't get me wrong, like there is a season to subdue, to make these big changes in your life, to really go the opposite. If you're really loud and bold and extravagant and flamboyant, for you to actually like find stillness and silence and come home to yourself, to be safe in your body, and then start to develop your best qualities as you let go of the toxic qualities that we all have. But it's in that development that I realized that my laughter, my joy, my fashion, my poetry, my flamboyantness, my boldness, my authenticity, those were and are my superpowers that I think a lot of us think that they have to go as well. And when you do that, you lose yourself and you lose the magic of the spiritual path.
Yeah. I think that you are very right. But today, actually, I had a moment because I've been living with your book for a while. I'm not the translator, but I live with it um, day and night. I write about it, and I create the launch about it, and it's getting to me deep, actually. And I'm a little bit, and some books they touch you in other places than other books.
Yeah.
And today I had a moment with this book because it just hit me that how will I know my true self? How will I know what my strength is and my superpowers? Because
Mm,
you ask questions like, so who are you beyond everything that you have um, inherited from society, from other people, and so on? So it's really difficult to know that what is
mm,
me and what's
mhm,
from others.
mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
How did you arrive here?
How did I arrive here? Well, my journey began about 10 years ago, coming up to 11 actually. In the spring of 2025 will be 11 years that I left the fashion industry And, and to give you more context, in the fashion industry, I was bold, sassy, wild, kind of arrogant and bitchy. I had like some of the qualities that I have now, but they were oriented in a way that created chaos and that didn't create connection and sweetness and joy and laughter for people. So I left the fashion industry in 2012, and then I spent the year of 2013 researching what is happiness, what is well-being, what is peace, who am I kind of questions, because my world was so upside down. And then I ended up buying a one-way ticket to India. And through retreat, through sitting in stillness and contemplating my mortality, I write about this in a book about meditating on your own death and how that really puts things into perspective. How really coming to terms that we're all going to die. That is something that all of us have in common. That really made it very clear that I needed to discover, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What's special about me? How can I live the most authentic, vibrant life that's possible? Because it's so short, it's so precious. It really is like, I think when we, depending on the age that we're in, oftentimes, like now, I feel like years are passing by so fast. You blink another year, you blink another year. Um, so through this process of sitting with my own mortality in retreat, I really got to discover that so much of the ways that I was thinking about myself and perceiving the world were inherited through society and were inherited through my unprocessed trauma from my lineage that was alive in my body. So the process is gentle, it's painful, and also amazing when you start to catch a glimpse of who you really are, and you start to touch um, this sweetness of our spirit, this goodness of our essence, and that's really what's all about. And to be very honest, when I left the fashion industry, begun my spiritual path, there was a moment there that I write about this extensively in Spiritually Sassy, that I had become so different from myself that I didn't recognize myself, but I thought I was doing the right thing. I was wearing all white. I had the long hair. I had crystals on my neck. I had crystals in my pocket. I was barefoot around India. I was talking to people in this very monotone voice, very namaste. I'm happy. I'm sad. It was I was really looking for this through line of being subdued and of being what I later named in the book zombie zen,
Yeah.
because I thought that that's what we needed to do to be spiritual. But I was looking at the disciples of the spiritual masters. I wasn't looking at the spiritual master, the guru, the teacher himself, themselves, herself. I was looking at what everybody else was doing around me, not the person that was on the stage. That's where I missed the mark, because a
Yeah.
lot of people that were on sitting at the audience, sitting with the teachers, but not the teachers themselves, they were trying to emulate and be this subdued version of themselves because that's what they thought the teachers wanted from them. But the teachers themselves were giving us poetry, laughter, jokes, humor. And they had this exuberant, wild expression to them. It was soft, but it was bold. It was gentle, but it was funny. And to find yourself in that, to hit that mark, that's what's taken a long time. That's why I wrote Spiritually Sassy, because I want people to realize that spirituality does not have to look or sound like what's so prevalent in a space, that you should be very quiet and very subdued and very, quote, calm. Calmness looks different for everybody.
And some people may not even need calm. Perhaps they have too much calm in their lives. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. And it's about finding your equation of authenticity, that it's not a prescription for everybody. It's a very individual path that really has to be done between your mind, your heart, and your body. And that is the journey that you have to do, the healing journey that you have to do in order for you to discover. Who am I? And who do I want to be?
So lately, in several ways, I've been hit by the message that, I mean, many people, or at least I can follow into the spiritual path sometimes daily, just in order to have some more truth and some more worthiness and meaning in my life, besides juggling the family and work and training and exercise and whatever. And then it's nice to have this spiritual part where I can just be, and I can be forgiven, or just excused around the table or whatever. So, but I think also that a lot of people, they follow the spiritual path like you try to do, in a certain way, and all of a sudden we are doing the same job in our spiritual path than in our career path or our family career path or whatever path we're taking. And all of a sudden, spirituality is not what it's meant to be. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the spiritual path, I think a lot of people come into it wanting to find a sense of relaxation and ease in their lives. And that's the path of wellness, not spirituality, the path of psychology, but it's not the path of it's not the spiritual path. This is my understanding of it. This is how I've integrated and metabolized, and this is how I teach and write in the books. The spiritual path is very much about getting to know what your gift for the world is and gifting it to the world. It's very much this interconnectedness. It's very much about developing your authenticity and gifting that freely to the world. So that fine line of like knowing what your purpose is and gifting it to the world as an offering, I think that is the most spiritual thing we can do. When we can walk around the world as a blessing to others, and not only seeking to feel calm and relaxed and happy in our own lives, because as His Holiness the Dalai Lama speaks about, true happiness is when we are in service to others. That's when we actually can open this well of happiness. It's beyond the circumstantial happiness. It's beyond all the little ways, the micro ways that we feel happy. And the spiritually sassy path is develop your authenticity. Through the path of developing your authenticity, your bold, true, wild version of yourself. Um, and once you develop that, you're curious about the world, and that curiosity then leads you to figure out, like, what is my unique gift to the world? And everybody has it. Everyone who's listening to this and everyone who's reading Spiritually Sassy, or I should say truly wild spirituality, you need to know that you have this gift that is uniquely yours, that's uniquely to you. And that's your job here, is to find out what is my unique gift to the world, and to stop looking around for it. Stop going to social media. Stop looking on the internet to find out what is my purpose, and to really sit with yourself and listen to the whisper. Listen to the heart. I talk about listening to the heart so much in Spiritually Sassy. Listen to the heart. And it's different than your thinking process. That's where we have to get more subtle, more peaceful, more quiet inside, so we can actually start to get these glimmers of intuition, that it's the language of the heart.
That's actually core in the book, right? To get into your heart and out of your headspace, kind of.
Exactly. You nailed it. Out of the head into the heart. I say that in the book, this is one of the shortest journeys we'll take, but also simultaneously the longest journey, because it's a journey of a lifetime when we learn to go out of the head into the heart, out of the head into the heart. Because the head, and I should say the thinking process, it's very much rooted in how we were socialized. It's very much rooted in how we were wounded. It's very much rooted in future thinking, past thinking, and it's not about the here and now. And once we learn the practices and tools and how to find our way back into our hearts over and over again, then we get these extended periods of being stabilized, rooted in the heart. And that's when we get guidance. And this is what spiritually sass is about. It's about receiving that guidance. And once the guidance, once you receive the guidance, then really doing your best effort to operate under, to do the thing, because at the start the heart is speaking to you in whispers. It's very quiet because the mind is so busy, but at some point I guarantee you that the whispers of the heart will be like, yo, turn left, go talk to this person, write this email, stand up, change your hair, get rid of these clothes, change your career. Like, it's going to be bold, and learning to listen to the boldness of your intuition is the spiritually sassy path. And there is a moment that we're like, oh, wow, like I am doing the thing that I never thought I would, because I'm now listening to the bold whispers. Sometimes often later in the path could become loud, the whispers of the heart. The thing is, the heart speaks in a very inspired language. This is very important to speak to. And the mind speaks in a very fearful language, but we're so habituated to the fearful, rigid, small, restricted, tight ways of operating, that to listen to the inspired ways of the heart is a foreign language. And we rather not, because we don't want to shake things up. We don't want to speak up. We don't want to change how we look. We don't want to, you know, uproot our lives and make these bold changes. I was just explaining how important it is to discern from the language of the mind versus the language of the heart, and how the language of the mind is very fear-based, because it wants to keep us in our comfort zone. And I write about the comfort zone in the book because our comfort zone is very much rooted in habits that are unconsciously, unfortunately, and also in a sweet kind of compassionate way, keeping us safe. But does that safety keep us small? Does that safety keep us lonely? Does that safety keep us not being authentic and bold and expressed? If that's the case, which I think it's for a lot of us, then your comfort zone is actually hurting you, not liberating you. And the heart is inspired language. The heart is bold language. It's fierce, it's sassy, it's wild. And learning to listen to that wild language of the heart and rewilding yourself to it, this is what I believe is the spiritual path and the message of spiritually sassy.
So, in the book, you describe a radical path of 8 steps
Mhm.
to come to your sassy self. Can you describe how you came to these, how you developed this program or learning path, and how what it has given you?
Mhm. I mean, the path has radically transformed my life. And the path was me looking back at my journals of when I was in and out of India, Nepal, Thailand, Indonesia, when I left my fashion world life and I started to go deep into, I write about it in the book, like ashram and monastery hopping. I was club hopping, bar hopping in the past. And then I turned that energy into liberation, into healing, into, listening to the whispers of the heart. And I remember posting about it on social media and people being like, oh my God, he's lost his mind. Wow, poor thing, lost his mind. And then only within years after that, people started to be like, oh, wait, that's so cool, I want to do that too. I might only do that journey, or might only go on this bold exploration of the self, of the heart, when I have more time. But I'm like, we don't have more time, the time is now. So the 8 radical steps are really about, they're really based on all the steps that I have realized on my spiritual journey to arrive here, where I feel really confident on how to help people develop spiritually sassy self.
Did you go from non-spiritual to spiritual, or did you have any spirituality in your life before, even though you were in the fashion industry?
Yes, to a degree. I mean, I grew up with a lot of synchronicities. I grew up with a lot of the universe meeting me, the universe reminding me that I was in the right place at the right time with the right people. And for those who don't know what synchronicities are, those moments where like we think of someone and they call you, where you are you thinking about um this random song and the song comes on the radio, like all these moments where your inner world is met by your outer reality. So I grew up with a lot of that, so I always knew that there was like more to life than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
And and then I had a season of life of feeling spirits when I was really young, maybe like 12 to 15. I would like feel spirits in the room and I would be really scared. And then when I, got into drugs and alcohol, that intuitive part of me got subsided. It was gone. That part of me to be able to sense that there's more to life than what meets the eye. And it wasn't until I went to when I left the fashion industry that I was really desperate, really depressed, suicidal ideation, that I really was like, there has to be more to this. But I had a season in my teenage years of tapping into a sense of spirituality, but it wasn't into my late 20s that I was like, I need to find out what else is happening because my definition of what it means to be human was money, was fame, was success, was looking a certain way, and I was so wrong. It was so far from the truth. We can look around in American celebrity culture and how often people look up to people who have all material means and perceive money as someone being good, money as someone being happy. And, you really quickly look under the hood a little bit and you realize that money doesn't mean happiness. Yes, it's good to have money. So your basic needs are taken care of, right? Your food at the table, your rent's paid, your phone bill's paid, your basic needs, survival basic needs are taken care of. But as soon as you have those taken care of, happiness is really about friendship, about authenticity, about the connections you make in your life, and really realizing that, like, as I said earlier, we're all going to die, and how do you want to live this short, precious life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you living the way you yeah, are you living your life
My life has never been better. I literally
now?
looked at myself in the mirror last night when I was going to sleep and I was like, wow, I'm living the dream.
Mm.
I have amazing friendships, amazing friendships. It's like wild. Every single corner of my heart, all of my heart's desires for connection and sweetness and play and creativity are so nourished, and it's really amazing when you really become your true authentic self, how life meets you there. And then you're no longer hanging out with people who drain your energy. You're no longer doing things that drain your energy in the same ways. Obviously, there will be, difficult people, difficult experience, natural, because being human is painful, but it's how we relate to it that really changes through becoming authentic, through developing the language of the heart. Yeah, I have to be honest. Like, I wrote spiritually sassy. It's been years now, and looking back at the material of the book and looking at my life now, that was so foundational for me to be where I'm at. And now I'm able to people want me around because of my sass.
Mm.
People want me around because I'm authentic, because I non-verbally, without even saying or doing anything, I'm able to invite people to be their authentic selves. And that is part of the spiritually sassy path.
Mm.
That is something that I wrote about it in the book. It's when you are living from this authentic place, people around you are invited to live in that way too. I call it like you become a permission slip, you know? It's you're just living in this place where you're gifting people the green light to be their wild, authentic selves too. And it's not it's it's a wild journey, but it's a worthy wild one. And everyone who's reading the book and listening to this right now, um, you're worthy. You're worthy of change. You're worthy of opening your heart. You're worthy of the wild, most wild version of yourselves. And you're worthy of a dream life, the one you dream of living. It's possible. You know, it may not look what you want it to look like, you know? It may look very different because I could have never foreseen me sitting here talking to you about the Swedish version of my second book. That like could have never foreseen that happening. Um, but it's about the felt sense. It's about how I feel inside. It's about the quality of my reality. It's so rich, you know, and it's far from riches of material wealth. It's rich in experience, it's rich in creativity, it's rich in friendship, you know, it's rich in art.
When I read Spiritually Sassy, it feels like you're very next to me. You have a very loud voice with a good attitude that wakes me. And and that's what I think. I really think it will matter to many people here, just because it's different with a little wildness to it that we don't see very often. So I thank you for being that authentic and writing this book in that way because it's needed.
Oh, thank you. And I don't know much about Swedish culture. And it's funny enough, I was just featured on the cover of a Swedish magazine called Human Shift.
In
Like a
Sweden,
yeah, it's called Human Shift.
I have to check.
Yeah, please do. It's over there. I can show you later. But anyway, so it's interesting how the book is coming out there. This magazine came out there,
Yeah.
and but I don't know the Swedish culture the way I know American culture. You know, and I believe that if there's a culture of some degree of oppression to authenticity, if there's a culture of some degree of like play cool, be small, fit the bill, don't be too loud, don't be too much, be safe, then this book is going to be nectar for your ears, nectar for your heart. It's going to lift you and inspire you because it's the tools that have radically transformed my life.
Have you heard about the Jante law?
No.
No. The Ante law is a natural law, um, or not natural. It's very human created law of not being special, not expressing yourself in certain ways, and you shouldn't be better than anyone else and that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
it's very present in the Nordic countries here in Europe, especially in Sweden. So yeah,
Hmm.
uh, we have a lot to work with.
Yeah. And you're going to find your way of feeling special and feeling powerful. And then does that specialness and boldness and feeling powerful, does it benefit others? Because it's only benefiting you, then it's not the right path. So really the finessing and finding your way through that's like the next stage, you know? Does your authenticity and your boldness and your power, does it benefit other people? This is when you know that it's actually you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't I guess, I mean, what you're saying is that to find your true path, it's your true path, whatever it looks like. It doesn't have to be bold and loud, right?
Exactly.
As long as we
Everyone's
find it.
express Yes. everyone's expression of boldness looks different.
Yeah.
Mine may look like me wearing high heels and dancing in my living room in my underwear and screaming at the screen to get you to pay attention to yourself, to go inside. And mine may look like hysterical, wild laughter. But for everyone is different. Everyone's expression of boldness and authenticity is very different. To not try to look around to copy and paste, because we're in such a copy and paste lifestyle. We look on social media what this person is doing and we copy that and we do a version of that for ourselves. This is not it. You know, it will require you to go through the 8 radical steps in the book to really get to know your own version of authenticity, your own bold self. And remember what I've said earlier and throughout this interview, it will be inspired, which
Mm.
means what? It will move you out of your comfort zone. So it will require you to like let go of your rigid ways, you know, if you want to truly live a life that is um inspiring for others, not only for yourself, a life that leaves a legacy of compassion, of grace, of sweetness, of play, of joy. And that's a big thing too that I want to make sure that the reader knows that joy is such a vital part of the spiritual path. I was writing this book and I was going through the layers of the Brahma Viharas, right? The qualities of the heart. And I met with this saintly woman, Jitsuma Tenzin Pamo. I read about her in Spiritually Sassy. And she's like, you're here to teach joy. You're here to remind people that joy is part of it, that even this incredible Buddhist path that's really about speaking about joy, but the word itself isn't said in the same specific way that you have to do. And I was like, wait, really? I was like, okay, cool. This is a huge gift and a big weight. So the book is really reminding people that joy is always available. And in the last 2 years, my mom died, and how have I been able to find joy amidst the insane grief that I've been going through? So joy is not bypassing the difficult things. Joy is about seeing it from a higher perspective. Joy is about seeing that there is some degree of harmony in this chaotic human experience, that there is more than what meets the eye. And joy is really about being like, ha, wow, here we go, and being a joy activist that I write about in the book too, um, is about really remembering that, like, we have to play our way through healing. We have to play our way through life. That if you gotten too serious, if you're following your routines a little bit too rigidly, where's the play? Where's the joy? When was the last time you laughed out loud? So, really bringing laughter back into your spiritual path is vital for you to develop your authenticity.
That's good. I know that you do a lot of movement too in your spiritual path. So, what do you actually, I mean, are you always on the right path or do you get off sometimes? And how do you come back then?
Look, the honest truth is that now that's been coming up to 11 years on the path, my veering off, my falling off the path isn't long. It doesn't even last um, more than a couple hours. However, I still feel like shit sometimes. I still feel confused and disorganized, and things are chaotic, and I make mistakes over and over again. But what's changed now is that I always know to find my way back. And I also know what it's like in my body. How do I feel in my body when I make a mistake, when I'm not on a path, when I'm not doing things that are beneficial for me or for other people? That's the difference. But
Your
it
compass
is
is straight.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know my way back. Like I can sense and feel my way back over and over again. And my spiritual path has changed a lot. I had this very serious, strict practice, and it's changed through the years. Movement has become a huge part of my path. Dancing has become a huge part of my path. However, dancing just with for purely a dance without awareness of what's going on in your body, it could be entertaining and it could also have a beneficial qualities because it does, because you're boosting this neurochemistry, you're sweating, you're moving, there's all these good things happening. However, if you bring the attention that you've trained and cultivated, your awareness that you've cultivated from a seated or laying down or walking meditation to your dance, then woo, honey, that is when you actually like, bring stillness into motion. And that's really what we want, is to arrive at a place where our meditation isn't only on the cushion, but it's in every exchange. Am I in my body as I'm talking to you? Can I actually hear you because I'm not listening to all the tabs that are opening my mind? Can I feel my body? Can I empathize with you? Is compassion available because I'm so in my body? These are the traits of stillness in motion. Can I wash dishes and still be present? Can I be walking and talking and all the things that we have to do while still being in my body, while still being present? This is what we want. And the movement practice, the dance practice, really tests your ability to bring stillness into motion. Because that is being human. We can't sit in a meditation cave for the rest of our lives. It really requires a relationality. Enlightenment itself is relational. It requires you to test your liberation. How free are you? It will show itself to you by how you're relating to your environment and how your environment is relating to you.
You said something about it's how we respond to everyday life that I just read it yesterday, and it spoke to me. So it's how what is it you say? It's how we respond to the everyday life when we're not on the program. So it's how we respond to the everyday life that.
Yeah, yeah, because it's so many of us are reacting to life. We are just in full reactivity mode, and reactivity is always based on self-defense, always based on fear. And a responding to life requires you to practice the pause. And practicing the pause is something that our hyper connected, hyper productive society doesn't know how to pause. We are so hyper socialized to do, not be, and training in the being, training in the pause will take a while. That is literally a massive skill that so many of us are going to have to relearn how to do it. And there's plenty of practices in the book that help you to pause and relearn how to, hey, slow down. What am I not seeing? What am I not hearing? What am I hooked on? What can I let go? What can I forgive? And through this process, you're going to be able to engage with the world from a more peaceful, relaxed, kind way that is not only beneficial for yourself, but beneficial for everybody around. So it's really getting out of reacting and into responding. And reactionary way of going through life is very much rooted in the head, very much rooted in the mind. And responding to life is very much the language of the heart. So learning to respond to life is when you are living in alignment with your heart. And that is a really wild journey because so often we are going to make mistakes and react to life, not respond to life because it's so different to respond to life. You're gonna have to learn how to take a deep breath multiple times a day, and relearn that path of breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. Have I left the present moment? Am I in the future? Am I in the past? Be where your body is over and over again. And that's when you can find your way through responding to life, not reacting to life.
What I'm thinking about when you talk about this, it can be such a simple thing as a responding or reacting to an email, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, it comes up and we're like, oh, I did something
Mm.
wrong, or I need to make sure that I need to make sure that I'm right. I need to it's always this like me, mine, and I mindset, you know? and it will require you to pause. And really good exercise for everybody to do is just to, see if every time you have the stimuli to react, if you could just like, oof, just for one breath. I'm not asking you to like take an hour of meditation before you do everything. No, just one deep breath. Like an email comes in, one deep breath. Someone says something that's unkind and you want to react, one deep breath. Everything just implement the pause, one deep breath. And then you don't have to be like, okay, wait. You don't have to make it like this. It will be much more natural for you because you're going to be in that state of pausing more.
Or you could actually do it very clearly, just to show I'm taking pause. Give me some
Sure.
time. Give me
That's right.
oh, kidding. So where are you from, Sah?
I'm from Brazil.
Originally?
Yeah, originally from Brazil, Brazilian American. My dad is a Lebanese and my mom was indigenous Black Brazilian with roots from Italy. So
Mm,
I'm a mix, and I've been in America for over 20 years and lived in Florida, New York, Los Angeles, then back to New York, then back to Los Angeles, and then spent a lot of time in India. Through the years, through the last coming up to 11 years, I've been to India 12 times now. So I give all of the you know, little bits of wisdom that I have, I give it to the motherland. It's all of it has been through India and Nepal and through the Buddhist path is really what the hours and hours and days of silence, of being in a monastery, of being in Dharma centers, of being in the Himalayas, of my great Buddhist teachers. Like it's all credit to them for me to be able to sit here and have you want to talk to me right now.
and still, you say that that's not the it doesn't have to look like that, right?
Not at all. Not at all. Enlightenment in liberation. And by no means I'm enlightened, but I know my way to it and I'm working towards that goal. You do not have to go to India. You do not have to go to a monastery, but you must implement silence into your life. You must implement the pause. You must take time away from the people, places, and experiences that keep you reacting, that keep you in a state of triggered, that keep you in an emotional, restricted, rigid way to really go beyond the layers of the passing sensations, to go beyond the layers of discursive thinking, to get to know your true, authentic self. That will require you to make a little corner in your house that this is my sanctuary. All you need is to implement a little corner, and that's maybe you have a little altar. It may just be a flower that you sit next to. It may be a picture of someone who inspires you. It may be a spiritual teacher. It may be a religious figure, whatever. And a little corner, a meditation little corner that you can practice sitting, breathing, being in your body, relearning how to breathe, and then testing your material, right? Like engaging with the world. You're only going to know if you're getting better, if you're becoming spiritually sassy through your relationships. It's only through the relationality of your liberation that you get to know if you're actually becoming free or not. And then maybe you save up some money and go on a retreat for an extended amount of time, 3 days, 5 days,
Mm.
10 days, or maybe be bold, be wild, do a month or 3 months in silence. But start with implementing silence into your life. Put the phone down. This hyperconnectivity that we are in this world today, it is consuming our lives and it's robbing us of presence, it's robbing us of responding to life. The way we relate to social media, it is the hyper socialization of reactionary approach to life. Because you see something like it, you double tap, or you comment something unkind, you know? You're living a moment and you taking a photo of the moment and posting the moment. It's like there's no pause, there's no breath, there's no stillness. So if you are addicted to your phone and you are super reactive to your phone, text message comes in, you reply. Email comes in, you reply. This is a great place to practice. Like let
Yeah.
the phone be your meditation.
Yeah. I'm gonna listen to that. So the book is full of mantras and meditations and visualizations and affirmations, and so I just want to say a few words about the book that relates to me, that why I love it, and it's because you take us on a journey, even though we haven't come into the 8 steps yet. I believe that it's that you are asking us to see what's in front of us. You're asking us to break it down. You're asking us to reinvent ourselves and reevaluate ourselves in a way that you actually make me do that, even though I'm in the bathroom or something like that.
Mm.
So uh, I really think this is an important book.
Thank you so
Mm.
much for saying that. Yeah, it really, I like the word you use, to reinvent ourselves. That's really the path, the spiritually sassy path. Is about reinventing ourselves and allowing ourselves to reinvent ourselves as many times over, you know?
Yeah. So, do do I mean, this is your first book in Swedish, I think. You have written 2
Hmm.
books?
3.
3? Huh.
Hmm.
Okay, so name them from start
Uh,
to
yeah, the first one is 5 Minute Daily Meditation, which is a meditation book. And the second book, Spiritually Sassy. The third book, Spiritually We.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What's that book about?
Spiritually We.
Yeah.
It's about friendship. This is why I speak about it so much. Yeah. In American culture, 1 out of every 4 people have no one to talk to, you know?
Oh,
And you look at the rates of, and I don't know what it's like in Sweden if people do have close connections, if they do have close friends, but then you look at like the rates of suicide, you look at the rates of, I mean, I believe loneliness is an epidemic. And
yeah,
that's why I wrote this book, you know? And in through understanding how lonely we are in our teenager, early adult, even into later years of life, you look at the path of how loneliness is so prevalent. And I'm speaking about American culture strictly, but I think this applies to modern world and Western world more, which perhaps applies to you guys there too. People are dying alone, you know, and that's something that we shouldn't have to do alone. We shouldn't go through chemotherapy and the difficult inevitable sickness and aging process that we're all going to go through alone, you know. And that is so wild. Looking when I was doing my chaplaincy training as a medical chaplain, which means sitting with the sick and dying at a hospital here in Los Angeles, it was so alarming, Alexandra, to see the amount of people who go through their hospitalizations alone. It was the most heartbreaking things. Like, what are we doing with our lives? And when I talked to social workers in the medical team, I was like, if you look up on Google, it says like 40% of the elderly population goes through hard experiences in life. 40% of the elderly population feels like they have no social support. 40%. But I was like, well, this might not be true if you really look at what's happening in the hospital system. I'm in America, I'm speaking, which I would be surprised if it was very different in Sweden. It's not 40%. We're looking at more like 70 to 80% of the elderly population that enters a hospital, they're alone. Where are your siblings? Where are your friends? Where are your kids? What happened to your, what did you prioritize in your life? And that's the problem. The book speaks a lot about the fact that we prioritize stuff, not connection. And you're really quickly going to realize that having things and not having people leads to a very miserable life. So the book paints a picture that connection is a physiological, psychological, and spiritual nutrient that's required for the well-being of our bodies, for the relaxation of our minds, for the openness of our heart. So that's one side of the book. And the other side of the book is um, really showing us that if you are looking for this aspirational goal of enlightenment, you must do it in community. you must do it together. It's not a
One man
individual self
show.
experience, you know? Yeah. I'm so proud of this book. It's literally like chef's
It's
kiss.
just come out, hasn't it?
Came out this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one,
Yeah. It's actually what,
Spiritually Be.
made me have a look at the Spiritually Sassy. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah, because look, it was the journey of like learning how to meditate, writing a book about meditation, then learning how to be my authentic self, and then realizing that like, hey, it's really about friendships at the end of the day, you know? So like learning how to be in stillness, then learning how to become your authentic self, and then doing it in community and having friends through the path is the only way to do this insane human life, you know? Yeah.
Fantastic human life. Yeah. So, is there anything you want to say directly to your Swedish audience? It's the first time you meet them.
Yeah.
What would you is there anything?
There's so much that I want to say. I really would love to meet you guys, to get to know your experience with Spiritually Sassy. I would love to share a room with you, hear your questions, support in any way I can through the process of becoming spiritually sassy. And you're worthy of reinventing yourself. You are worthy of reinventing yourself as many times over.
That's beautiful. Worthiness is scarce.
Yeah. Yeah. The book will help you to make friends with with your inherent worth.
That's true. Do you have a motto in life? I kind of sense that you had one. Do you have a motto in life that you follow?
Do I have a motto in life? The thing that's really most important for me right now is realizing that friendships are the most important thing. That connection is the cure. That having friends is so important. And if I have a motto, um, it changes, you know. It changes, but right now I just feel so grateful for my friends and for the friendships I have. Yeah.
That's nice.
Mhm.
Did you uh, did I understand that you're working in hospital
Training, I was, yeah.
training?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
That's what you were doing, helping people in the last times.
mhm. Yeah, sitting with the sick and dying, yeah.
Are you still doing that?
I've taken a break. I've done 500 hours and now I'm taking a break and I'm going to get back into it as soon as I have a little bit more time. But that work, I think that's my life's work. It's the next thing, the next book, the next everything
Yeah.
is all about preparation for death and how to make death more poetic, more artistic, and and bringing ritual back into death and dying and grief. I think in the Western world we've become so devoid of ritual. You know, it's robbing us of experiencing the end in a really profound, raw, mystical way. It's become it's become, you know, a rush, to say the very least. The modernity has robbed us of pausing with the dead, pausing to experience grief. You know, I don't know what it's like in Sweden, but in American corporate culture, you've got 3 to 4 days to get back to work. Your mother dies on Sunday, you got to be back at work on Wednesday or Thursday. It's insane. Like it doesn't make any sense in any shape or form, you know? But when you give birth, here you have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't, depending, but we are just so disconnected from death, dying, and grief. We're so death phobic. We're so grief phobic. So the next what you can look out for what's coming next for me is really helping people to ritualize death, dying, and grief, to make it poetic, make it artistic, and make sure that people have friends
Mhm.
at the end, that there are warm, loving eyes next to you as you take your last breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did this come to you? Have you been afraid of death, or are you fascinated by it, or what what made you?
I yeah, thanks for this question. I mean, it was like maybe a year or a year and a half before my mom died. I was riding my bicycle from Santa Monica to Malibu here in Los Angeles, and just had this intuition. The heart spoke and said, "Time to learn about death and dying. Time to explore that." And I was like, "Wait, I don't want to talk about that. That's a bummer. I don't want to think about the end." And I wrote my teacher, one of my great teachers, and I said, "I want to explore this. I want to learn more." And she sent me a body of work. And I started to listen and read and be inquisitive and reflective about it. And that started to open my mind. I was like, "Oh wow, this is like a whole world that I never even knew." The stages of dying, the death process, the grief process. I was like, "Whoa, we don't talk about this at all. What's happening?" And the fact that we're all going to die and we don't talk about this at all. We have no preparation. We don't speak about it. It's like, wait, what? We prepare to have kid. We prepare to get married. We prepare for every other thing, but not for one thing that everyone 100% will go through. And I was like, okay, this is wild. And as a very curious person, I was like, I can't believe I haven't even been curious about this. And then but it's not very, I'm not like giving all my effort to this. I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. Like a book here, listening to this, talking here. And then my mom dies. And it was so tragic. It destroyed me. It flipped my world upside down. And then 6 months after she died, and the way that she died and how that process was, there was no ritual in the room. The nurses and the medical staff delivered the news like we were not humans. It was like, "Patricia's dead," and turns around and starts washing his hand and leaving the room. I'm like, "What is happening?" I was so confused by the experience, but I didn't understand the insanity of it until much later, because I was so shocked by how it took place. And I was doing these Buddhist rituals as my mom is dying and as she's pronounced dead. And the nurses are all sort of, like fidgeting in the corner and they're speaking in Portuguese because we were in a hospital in the south of Brazil. But they didn't know that I'm Brazilian. They didn't know
Mm.
that I speak the language. So I actually understand what you're saying. And they were just like, talking crap about it. And I was like, "Oh, this is strange that this is acceptable or this is allowed or this is part of the vernacular. So then 6 months go by and I'm like, I need to do something about this. I need to learn about this. I need to be in that space. I need to face that. I need to go deep into this. So that's when I started training as a medical chaplain at a big hospital here in Los Angeles, and sitting with the sick and dying has cracked me open in a massive way. And I'm learning my way through this process and being able to offer warmth and presence and sometimes beautiful words. Um, it's really giving me so much inspiration and so much information that has to be out in the world. Yeah. Thanks for
I
asking
can
that
only
question.
imagine. Yeah. Mm, good. It's a good thing that you do help people over and through hard times. We should all do that. Hard times
Yeah.
are very tough alone, aren't they?
Yeah. We should never have to go through hard times alone. I think our
No.
society says, do it alone, self made, you know, be an individual. And you really realize that, like, yes, develop, reimagine yourself, reinvent yourself, but you got to do it in community. You have to do it as a way to deepen your connections, because the more you reinvent yourself, the more you become your authentic self, people will gravitate towards you. You become magnetic, and that magnetism is something that we speak about it in spiritually sassy. Yeah.
Have you always liked words. I mean, you are now an author of 3 books. Is this something that is that has that been an interest of yours through life?
Not really, to be honest. It
No.
wasn't until I started meditating and coming into stillness, and writing in a journal and talking about it and teaching about it that I was like, "Oh, wow. I kinda sound good. These words I put the words together in a unique and interesting way. Okay, that's cool." And I would read back things and I'm like, "Oh, wow, this reads really interesting. Okay, cool." It wasn't something I thought about. It's something that through reinventing myself over and over again, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I guess this is what it is." But to be honest, fully honest, like 12 years ago, if you told me that I would be sitting here with you talking about the Swedish version of my second book, I would be like, "Okay, is everything okay? Because you don't sound well." Because it's so I could have never imagined any of this. Yeah.
Now you're here, and now you're in Sweden, and we're super happy about that.
Thank you so much.
So I'm gonna let you go through to your day, and I'm gonna go home to my kids.
So nice to meet you, Alexandra. Thank you so much for having me.
I am very grateful. Thank you. Have
Mhm.
a lovely Christmas now, because we're talking just before Christmas, and the book is coming out in the end of January.
Oh, beautiful. Well, keep me posted. Thank you so
Well,
much.
certainly.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
darling. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I do.
Bye.